Hello again, students. This is the opening video for week 9. I want to talk to you very specifically about the second half of Huckleberry Finn. Notice that this is the work that is the only one I'm really giving 2 weeks to in the class. It's clearly that important in my understanding of the development of American literature, and indeed in the understanding of many others. And here we have the second half of the novel, and we have something. It has started out with something of a humorous story of a journey, although it tells, it has a dark underpinning. This humorous story about alcoholism and child abuse is the beginning, and slavery. But it also has this element that is called a Bildungsroman. A Bildungsroman is a kind of novel that talks about the moral development of its character, its main character, its protagonist. There are a variety of novels like that, where a young person goes through some kind of journey or development from school and becomes a more lucid and hopefully better person. Though not all Bildungsromans show somebody doing better at the end. It's sometimes there are negative developments. Someone can have their character perverted in a Bildungsroman, conceivably. And indeed, that's the debate. That's the debate about the pivotal moment in Huckleberry Finn, where Huckleberry Finn, who has learned from the women who taught him his Sunday school lessons, that not turning in his friend Jim as a fugitive slave would be stealing, and hence sinful, and all the more likely to get him sent to hell. Nothing in his education, and surely nothing in the prejudices of the antebellum period in the future Confederacy. It's not yet the Confederacy at the moment the novel is set, though Mark Twain is writing this story a decade or two, I think, after the end of the Civil War. That would let him think of Jim as fully human as he is. But as Jim looks out longingly on the raft at the north on the Mississippi River, Huck sees something that he recognizes from his own soul, his own longing, perhaps, though surely for different things under different circumstances. And he looks at Jim. When he knows that he has the opportunity to turn him in as a fugitive slave, and surely Jim must be looked for as a fugitive slave. And he says to himself quietly, "All right then, I'll go to hell." And that is the development of moral character that Mark Twain invites his reader to go through, not to go to hell. Maybe the widow Douglas's hell, maybe her idea of hell, because I'm thinking all of us, anybody who's ever worn a short skirt, said a swear word, or, done anything slightly out of the ordinary is probably going to widow Douglas's hell as far as she is concerned, if she's, the judge. But America, in abandoning its attitude towards slavery that distinguishes a class of people, African Americans, as property, is not going to hell. In fact, that is the redemption of the American promise. And I can talk about it in secular terms. Certainly, when the Constitution is written, Black folks are considered 3/5 of a person if they are enslaved. Literally 3/5, and women are charming imbeciles who need to be basically treated like permanent children. So kind of people, kind of not. And today we have an understanding, or let me just say most of us do, that humanity applies to all of us. Adult humanity applies to all of us who are not mentally impaired because of some kind of brain injury or true lunacy. And this was news when this novel was written, and greater news for when Huck makes the American decision. Having left the abusive parent, who is possibly understandable as European empire, maybe. King George III, maybe, if I look at it allegorically, goes down the Mississippi River, a place filled with both dangers and wonders, perils and adventures. And he does so with a companion who is running away like he is, but who is not allowed under the then American experiment to be considered fully someone who can develop, like Huck has been repeatedly encouraged to develop, however successfully or unsuccessfully, however wrong-headedly or right-headedly. And he looks at Jim and says, if hell is the price of treating this person like a human, someone in whom I recognize all my best qualities, as well as perhaps ones that are, just universal to all humans, then all right, I'll go to hell. He was never so sold on heaven, at least as Widow Douglas described it to him, because Tom wasn't going there. His friends aren't going to Widow Douglas's heaven. And America is not living by an old paradigm anymore. As Huckleberry Finn develops his character by actually thinking he's going to hell, we, readers of the future, and indeed readers who were reading the first edition when it came out, were already just past the Emancipation Proclamation when they read it. They are adopting something that will not send them to hell. Indeed, if America was damned, the redemption is surely in the end of its original sin, which was not to see everyone in its experiment of greater union, and in its experiment of what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called the beloved community as fully human, saying, all right, then I'll go to hell on the raft, is the symbolic redemption of the entire American experiment. Many scholars read it that way. I read it that way. And even if I don't, even if you want to call BS on this, you don't think, she's exaggerating. It's not what's going on. Nevertheless, if we just look at it as a simple individual's Bildungsroman, not a narrative for a national understanding, we are nevertheless required to understand the keen irony and lovely lyricism of this moral development, which indeed I would argue is the most important American moral development in literature that I have read. Anyway, that's a long lecture on one line of a story, but I think you will enjoy the rest of the novel. It kind of gets weird at the end because Tom Sawyer gets involved. And I understand, as a woman of a certain age, why Widow Douglas perhaps thought that Tom was going to hell. Because he messes with everybody about Jim's freedom. Everybody is part of his novelistic, Romanesque narrative. He wants an adventure novel instead of Jim to be free. It's complicated. You'll get there. That's not a spoiler alert. It's just something to notice. Um, I look forward to your answer to this week's forum question. I think you will enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of the novel.